Most families pass down homes, but some pass down something else. It starts small, footsteps in an empty hallway, doors opening when no one's there. Easy to ignore at first, until you realize it didn't just happen to you. Years earlier, your grandparents heard the same footsteps, same hallway, same house, and now it's happening again. So the question is, are these just stories passed down through the generations? Or is something in these homes still there? Tonight we're diving into one of the most disturbing yet fascinating patterns in the paranormal: generational hauntings. Most hauntings follow a familiar pattern. A family moves into a home. Strange things begin. Doors move, objects disappear, unexplained noises occur. Eventually, the family leaves, and the activity fades. Generational hauntings are different. These rare cases occur in homes passed down within the same family for decades, sometimes centuries. Parents pass the house to their children, who eventually pass it down again, and the strange experiences continue. A grandfather may hear footsteps in the attic. Years later, a granddaughter sleeping in the same room reports the same sounds. Parents remember doors opening on their own during childhood, only to have their own children describe identical events decades later. For paranormal researchers, these stories are extraordinary, providing multi-generational testimony that is nearly impossible to replicate in standard ghost investigations. Children are often the first to detect something is wrong. Young family members sometimes see figures standing in hallways, hear voices calling their names, or describe invisible companions tied to the home itself. What makes this chilling is that these reports often occur before the children know the house has a reputation. Only later do parents or grandparents realize the descriptions sound eerily familiar. The figure near the staircase, the footsteps echoing in the hallway, even objects moving seemingly on their own. Children often describe these events with curiosity rather than fear, which can make their accounts more credible. When these stories are compared across decades, a haunting pattern begins to emerge, one that transcends individual perception or imagination. Another layer to generational hauntings lies in the emotional history of the family itself. Some researchers suggest that homes absorb not only the physical presence of people, but the emotional energy tied to intense experiences. Rooms where arguments, accidents, deaths, or births occurred often become hotspots for activity. Children and grandchildren may unknowingly witness echoes of these emotional events, even decades later. A hallway where a heated argument once took place may later feel oppressive to a child. A bedroom where a family member died might be reported as cold or unsettling. Each generation's reaction, fear, disbelief, or storytelling can reinforce the haunting, making it persist. Over time, the strange events become woven into the fabric of family life. The house holds fragments of emotional memory, replaying them across generations in ways that are both terrifying and strangely familiar. This psychological and emotional angle adds depth to generational hauntings, suggesting that some of the phenomena may be tied as much to family history and trauma as to anything supernatural. One of the most compelling patterns in these cases is the exact repetition of phenomena. Families separated by decades report similar sounds, shadows, and unexplained events occurring in the same locations. Footsteps echo on the same staircase, doors slowly open in the same hallway, and figures appear in the same corner. At historic homes, visitors, descendants, and caretakers over the centuries describe eerily similar experiences, creating a pattern that's difficult to ignore. Some paranormal investigators suggest the house itself may record fragments of its past, replaying them under certain conditions. Others believe the phenomena may interact with the family in a more conscious way, responding to presence, emotion, or attention. Some researchers and paranormal enthusiasts suggest that generational hauntings may be linked to the concept of genetic memory, the idea that certain experiences, traumas, or emotional imprints can be passed down through DNA from one generation to the next. Just as we inherit physical traits from our ancestors, it's been theorized that intense psychological events, like fear, grief, or violent death, might leave a subtle imprint on descendants, making them more sensitive to paranormal phenomena in the same locations, or even evoking similar experiences. This could help explain why entire families sometimes report encounters with the same spirit or recurring supernatural patterns across generations, suggesting that hauntings might not just be tied to a house or object, but to the very lineage of those who live there. Sometimes the haunting isn't tied only to the house, but to the land it stands on. Battlefields, burial grounds, crossroads, and historical settlements often produce reports of strange occurrences. Homes that remain in the same family for generations may sit atop land with long, tragic histories. In these cases, family members may inherit the land's energy along with the property itself. Some cemeteries are notable examples where centuries of reports suggest that the land itself can retain and replay energy, influencing generations of people who visit it. In this view, the haunting may not follow the family, it simply intersects with them because the family remains in the same place long enough to experience it. Not all researchers attribute generational hauntings to the supernatural. Psychologists argue that family stories and expectation bias heavily influence perception. Children raised in quote-unquote haunted homes may interpret ordinary sounds or environmental quirks as paranormal. Old floorboards, shifting door frames, faulty wiring, or low-frequency vibrations can create sensations that feel uncanny or even threatening. Over time, these experiences can blend with family narratives, creating shared stories that seem to repeat across generations. From this perspective, generational hauntings may be less about ghosts and more about psychological inheritance, a mix of memory, expectation, and environment passed down along with the home. Perhaps the strangest part of generational hauntings is adaptation. What terrified the first generation gradually becomes routine for the next. A door closes on its own. Big deal. Footsteps echo in the hall. So what? A child reports seeing a shadow in the hallway, and a parent responds that it happens all the time. Over time, the house's strange events become part of family identity, stories passed down casually, almost like tradition. The haunting, whether real, emotional, or psychological, becomes woven into the narrative of family life, quietly shaping how generations relate to their ancestral homes. So maybe it wasn't just the house. Maybe something happened there, something that never quite ended and never totally left. Because in these stories, the pattern always remains the same. Different people, different generations, same experiences. So when footsteps echo in an empty hallway, when a door opens on its own, you have to wonder, are you imagining it? Or are you just simply the next one to notice? And if these things can be passed down, then the question becomes what else might be waiting in the place we call home? If you enjoy deep dives into paranormal cases, subscribe here for more true stories of hauntings, the supernatural, and unexplained phenomena. And in the meantime, remember, stay spooky.